Hello guys, over here at Ward Theaters. Nice setting, bouquet de pepo in the background. I wanted to elaborate on the concept of selling one's soul. What that means, my interpretation of it. So, for example, the restaurant over there, it says meatballs, balls, meat, and to me that hints. It's a suggestive euphemism almost towards male genitalia, and the same goes with some people in pop, entertainment or in movies. They'll make suggestive references that I think are not funny, and they're they're meant to promote competition in an unhealthy way, like comparing people's pee or breast size, or just certain things that really are not politically correct. The idea of selling your soul is going to these places. Like, for example, I wouldn't go to that restaurant because I don't approve of that. The idea, I'll show you another. I'll ask for a refund for a movie if I think its material is offensive, or maybe I'll do some research before seeing a movie, for example. Another example of quote unquote selling your soul. I want to show you this. I'm just gonna block the guy's face out, but it's basically an ad for somebody promoting anti-diabetes medication or whatever, and guess what? The very act of doing that, like, think about it. They're probably not using preventative measures like eating healthy. They're probably just promoting big pharma or just some less efficient. And maybe the guy believes in it. The person in the ad, the medicine, and maybe he uses it. Maybe the people who are, big fluoride in dentistry, big pharma, or big tobacco, whatever, big oil. Maybe all these people use these products, and so it just like kind of the idea of a drug dealer using the drugs that they sell, quote unquote. Then maybe maybe they're not deviating from a scheme of morality. In other words, treat other people how you would want to be treated. Another, for instance, is, say, the concept of a whore versus a prostitute. Prostitute is somebody, I would say, a profession where somebody does something, sexual acts in exchange for money, and they don't. It's not something they want to do. It's something that they're most likely needing to do. In order to survive. A whore, on the other hand, is somebody who takes advantage of people, leverages their body or money in order to pursue these types of engagements, and is actually likes taking advantage of people. Like, you might not think of it as taking advantage, but it's somebody's soul. It's your soul, it's your energy. And the same goes with to varying degrees, like working at, say, if I were to work at a restaurant that wasn't vegan, like, would that be consistent with my truth? And of course the same goes if I was to commit myself and give my energy and my soul to a non-dream mate. So the idea, of somebody having a soul is a little abstract, but let's just say it's your beliefs, what you adhere to, what your practices. And sometimes people are not in a position, like, let's say a woman in a third world country is in a situation where she has to, in order to escape unsafe situations, she needs to marry and pretend to like this guy who's twice her age or whatever. I don't, that's not selling your soul. Selling your soul is doing doing things that you don't believe in when you have a choice as to what you can do or not do. So, for instance, you might not be able to dress nicely, like in a suit, for example, in an unsafe environment, but in a safe place, if you still choose to say dress thuggish or dress slovenly, when you have a choice to present yourself, better and make a better impression, speak more formally, think more formally, then you are selling your soul. And I just feel like it's a useful idea useful to question. Like, for example, let's say somebody does an ad for Coca-Cola, but they think it's poisonous. Let's say somebody, fights in the military, but they don't approve of all the agenda of the, whatever you want to call it, industrial complex, special interests, just people who may be racist and have all these strange biases as to why they want to promote war and conflict. That's my summarization of selling your soul. Obviously, circumstances are imperfect, but when you have a choice to choose, don't choose to have kids right away and get a job right away and make money. Choose to do what you want when you have the opportunity, when you have the money, and actually plan that out. Like, for example, instead of making things random, like, plan out, okay, if I have this much money, I'll invest it in this business to make my dreams come true, instead of just investing it randomly, such that somebody else, I give my money randomly and then I have to continue working at a job that I don't like, or I don't approve of the practices of it, and I have to sell my soul or deviate from my true nature. But when you're, of course, there are gray areas when people get hurt. Like, for example, in the police do good things, but in a way they're selling their soul, because obviously, marijuana is not harmful compared to alcohol, but they classify it as or DMT, they classify it as a strong drug, and then have its corresponding criminal penalties for, and then there's the like, for example, they might kick out a homeless person even though they feel bad for them or their security. There are gray areas, but the bottom line is, if you're fucking not in a position to be who you want to be, then my description of you would be you're in a poor situation. A lot of people think they're doing perfectly fine, financially, but the truth being that they might not approve of what their husband or spouse is doing. They might not be in a position to quit a job they don't like. So really, the idea of poverty is very different when you're not just looking at raw numbers of financial and security somebody has, but looking at the large-scale perspective of, if somebody was a soldier, in the sense of being like a spiritual soldier, like going in the, creating what you want in the world. It's a privileged and exclusive thing to do, and that's why somebody like myself, I make an effort to to position myself so that even though I'm living outside, which is actually very doable in Hawaii, operating out of a storage locker, $100 a month, etc., I really feel like I'm making headway and refining my concepts and presenting them. At the end of the day, That's the beginning of everything. That's the beginning of businesses, the beginning of paradigm shifts and evolutions in consciousness and the way society operates. So, remember, the soul and love can be abstract terms, but in concrete manner they mean your dreams and your goals, and everybody is unique. So a respect for that. The nice thing about the world is, because everyone's different, it allows people to, it compels people to do things that they might not do for family, quote unquote. Like, they might clean a restaurant that's not the same food they like, or clean a church that's not of the belief they like. And in this way, people sort of homogenize and get to know each other, and but we still go. I think the direction is the direction of everyone being a global citizen, and it's all about naming yourself. Your soul is who you are. It's your identity. And what do you identify with? I mean, I identify with my own name. I don't say I'm a member of a family or ethnicity or country of origin or anything like that. I just say I'm me. And I think it's a professional way of presenting oneself, of being a competent person. Obviously, there are benefits to grouping and those types, but just be really clear on, what you stand for and who you are, what your soul is, and don't sacrifice it unless you need to in order to meet your basic needs. Thanks for considering. Aloha.